no chance. That is actually coincidence or subliminal messaging. Hey, how's it going? And welcome to Whisky Whims with me, Stuart. Another video review in my non-chill filtered series, which sees me trying to review a whisky without any notes taken prior, which I usually do, and also without any trimming or cutting, so it's one take. There will definitely be editing in the video, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just a little challenge to myself to try and do it without notes and try and do it in one take. Whether you guys enjoy it or not, hopefully you do, but it's just a challenge for myself. Anyway, today we've got a Thompson Brothers Dornoch Distillery whisky, or not technically Dornoch Distillery yet, but yeah, it's a blended malt from Cambeltown. It's 5-year-old, 50% ABV. I'm almost certain it's non-chill filtered, no added colouring. It doesn't look to be coloured. It's a very light hay-like colour, and yeah, they're based in Sutherland. They've just released their first new make spirit, a 50cl bottle, and they should be releasing stuff in the future. They do a lot of independent bottlings, IBs, and they do some blends. They think they started with gin, so yeah, Dornoch Castle, Dornoch Distillery, they're all up next to each other. What else can we say about this? It's got ramen on the bottle. It's a cool ass label. Their labels are all pretty funky. Designed by Whisky, I can't remember who it's designed by. Whisky Hobo, maybe. I don't know what his name is. He's on Instagram anyway, and they tag who designs the labels, or they give credit to the designer. I'm trying to see if there's any giveaway on here, but there's not. So yeah, it's a cool label. That's what attracted me to the bottle. £45, I'm pretty sure what I paid, which I think is reasonable for a 5-year-old blend, hailing from Campbeltown. That seems reasonable enough. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to really say on it. It doesn't say much on the bottle. It just basically says there's 386 bottles. It was bottled in 2019. So Campbeltown, yeah, it doesn't really give you any details about the barrel or anything like that. And I don't think there is any details on it. So we'll get down to it, starting with the nose. I'm not sure if I'd be able to say straight away that this is Cambeltown. I think when I smell Cambeltown, I'm always looking for Springbank, like funk. And straight away from the nose, I don't think this has got much Springbank in it, if any Springbank in it. Now that could just be a rather educated guess, not just off the nose, but Springbank casks are quite hard to get hold of. Some people do have them. Or Springbank whisky in general is hard to get hold of, so trying to get a cask of it to put it in a blend. It could have Springbank or anything like that in it, but I think this is probably predominantly Glen Scotia. Yeah, it's got a, I'm not sure if I'm getting peat, but it's very, on the nose it is quite a alcohol, spirit driven. It's crisp. It is quite a young nose, quite, no, I wouldn't say nippy, but it attacks the hairs a little, doesn't burn them off or anything, but I don't think this would be a whisky you'd want to introduce someone to whisky with. It's not soft in the sense it's been designed like a Glenfiddich or something like that, like a 15-year-old, 12-year-old or anything like that. It's just quite raw, quite stripped back, white wine, vinegar, some daisies. I've never had daisies before on a whisky. But yeah, there's definitely like a flower, and I think it's daisies. I think daisies are actually a weed. Maybe some buttercups. Getting a lot of kind of fresh, like dew on the grass. Yeah, it's quite grassy, quite reedy, like river reeds. It's like being down the banks, down by a burn, by a river. You've got the, it's not like salty, it's not coastal or anything like that. I'm just trying to picture it in my head. I like close my eyes, try to picture it. I've never actually closed my eyes much on video before because I usually have my notes, but Yeah, it's like being down by a kind of a pebble shore, and you've got the water gently hitting the shore, gently hitting the pebbles, and you've got that smell of the water on the pebbles. Yeah, it's not salty at all, not coastal, but it's quite nice. It's delicate. I think I've probably contradicted myself by saying that it's a little harsh and delicate at the same time. I just don't think this would be for someone who's coming new into whiskey, because it does take a little bit to get past. It feels like an initial harshness, but once you're past that, it opens up. It maybe just needs the time to open up in the glass. Give it a little bit of time, maybe 20 minutes in the glass or something. But yeah, it's opening up now. There's pear, yeah, all those flowers, all those not really botanical in that sense, but just flowery. Daisies, rhododendron. No, I don't even know what they smell like. Is that how you say it? Rhododendron. But yeah, it is. It is like you've just planted some new plants. You've got there is a bit of earthiness there, a bit of a dirt, and you've got the plants coming through, nice, colourful. That's the only way I can explain it. And you've also got that pebbled beach, pebbled shore. That's what that reminds me of. It's nice. It's taking me away a little, but rather soft at the end. Like I said, there's the buttercups as well. I'm just trying to remember myself what I've said. I keep going over it. Getting something like this could sound weird. I'm getting like a goose fat, something fatty, kind of oily. Yeah, it's like goose fat on the end of this nose. It's not bad. It's not a nasty smell. The palate. I wonder if the ramen and that's got anything to do with it, because it doesn't taste like ramen. It doesn't taste like boiled egg or noodles or anything like that. Chicken, pork, whatever they put in ramen now, everything. The palate's it's subtle. The palate's real subtle. I don't know if it's peated. I can barely pick out any peat. If it is, I don't think there's peat here. It might be slightly peated or very subtly peated, but I can barely pick out peat. The palate there's a saltiness in the palate. Buttered popcorn, but salted buttery popcorn. It's really creamy, really thick, oily, viscous feel in the mouth, but really salty at the same time. It has to be Glen Scotia. I get a really overpowering, bittery saltiness from Glen Scotia, really savoury, that kind of puts me off Glen Scotia at times. I've had a few where I've not really agreed with them because they've been too salty, but this is actually quite well balanced with that salt. The blend, however they've blended it, is working well together. Leaves, wet leaves, going back to the kind of wet grass, reeds. There's wet leaves on the palate. You can tell it's young. It's not under matured or anything like that, but it's evident that this is a young 5-year-old whiskey. But kudos to putting the 5-year age statement on there. I've got no issue with that, and it's not putting me off the whiskey at all, but you can just tell it's got a young element to it. Don't know why I made that noise. Yeah, there's a herbalness, sage, mint. There's definitely something minty. Yeah, like a mint leaf. I was thinking maybe peppermint or spearmint, but it's more just like a mint leaf, quite herbal. It's like a spring onion. It's is there spring onions on this? There is. No chance. That is actually coincidence or subliminal messaging, but they look like spring onions, and there is quite a kind of springy, spritey, oniony like spring onions. Jesus, I'm just going to look like a tool now. I just look like, do you know what? There's noodles, there's eggs, there's not any of that, but there's definitely spring onion. Jesus, yeah, spring onion. I'm saying it. It's done. It's out there. I'm not cutting anything out. Try to see if there's anything else. I feel like I'm getting a tobacco-y element to it, or maybe cigar. Yeah, do you know what? It's more cigar. I'm getting a kind of a light cigar, not dark, not like a heavy cigar, just a nice kind of like a small thin cigar, cigarello I think they're called, something like that. It's a very handsome, attractive palate, to be fair, between the savoury bitterness, that buttery popcorn, the spring onions. It's well balanced though and coming together. It's well blended, it's put together well. I wasn't sure what the whiskey was going to be like when I first bought this. I thought I was just buying it for the label, in all honesty, and because it was Cambeltown, but it's actually rather enjoyable. The finish is probably medium. I don't think it's long, and I don't think it's short. I think it's just medium. There's no added length to it. It dissipates quite quick, probably short to medium, and the flavours, more butteriness, more creaminess. Yeah, more of that grass, that wet grass, not damp, just wet, like morning dew. I need to pour a little bit more for the finish, or that's what I'll tell myself, just because I feel like it's faded quite quick. Right. Yeah. More of the mint, whether that's just on the palate, but it's definitely coming through in the finish. The finish is short to medium. It is fleeting, young, grassy again, but there's a nice, it's almost like tuck biscuits. I don't know if I've made this analogy before. I probably have this comparison before. It's like a tuck cracker. They basically just savoury cracker, lots of salt over it. It's mouth-watering because of the salt, and also kind of, I was going to say also drying, but it's not actually drying, it is just mouth-watering. You kind of want to have, well, water or more of the whiskey, enjoyable enough that it is. Well, we get down to the review of rating it, because I think that's all I can say in the finish, and I don't want this to drag on too much. So, would I buy it again? I probably wouldn't. Now that I've tried it, I wouldn't buy it again. I'm glad I bought a bottle, enjoying the bottle so far, and I think that's as far as it needs to go. Would I recommend it? I definitely recommend this. It's a nice whiskey. I enjoy it. Maybe not for new beginners, people starting out in whiskey, but definitely if you're a fan of the Campbeltown region, Glen Scotia in particular, and if you like to explore kind of different whiskies, because this is different to what I've had before. It's a blend. I don't think I've done a blend on the channel yet, probably not, so it's a little bit different. I might have done a blend. I've done the Epicurean, which is a blend, but anyway, it's just different to what I've had before, an aged blend maybe. And do I think the price is worth it? £45, £50, yeah, I think that's worth it. 50% ABV, you're getting the ABV, the age statement. Like I said, I think it's chill filtered, non-chill filtered, and no added colouring. So it ticks all the right boxes. So I would definitely think it's worth the price. It's a whiskey win. Although I wouldn't buy it again, I still think it deserves a win. It's still a good whiskey. Still solid, quite consistent from start to where I am at the moment. But yeah, an enjoyable whiskey. I've been Stuart. This has been Whiskey Whims. I'll see you later.